Right, hi. I want to start doing a daily devlog about what I've been working on, because basically I want to use CueCam and I want to start talking about something, and what I'm doing is writing code for CueCam. So let's make that what we're going to talk about and see if I can find some other developers along the way. So today we're going to talk about how to put the right screen names. So what the display name when we're sort of storing the screen shares in CueCam or showing them. I'm Michael Forrest. I made CueCam Presenter, which is the app that I'm recording and like running this presentation on. So in CueCam, I let you share your screen using Apple's recently introduced framework ScreenCaptureKit. This lets you basically share a screen and you can create a filter with windows, different applications, different displays. And it sort of works in different ways depending on what you're doing, but you can whitelist things, blacklist things. If you share apps, you have to sort of tell it which display. If you share windows, it behaves a little differently, but it's pretty cool. And you just get back CM sample buffer objects. You don't have to go into like IO surface, this and that. You just get these video frames, you get these as pixel buffers with timestamps, and you get audio data if you want, which is really handy. It means like that's why we don't need any of that, you know, sort of audio loopback, audio hijack stuff anymore. It's nice, and it was a long time coming, but it's a little bit bare in places as an API. So Apple generally wants you to pop up this whole picker, so like you sort of hover over it sort of pops it up from the system menu, and you sort of get you get this little share app. Sorry, that was on the Discord was on my thing. If you heard a Discord message, I should probably quit. So share all application windows, and then you click on that, and it shares. But it's really kind of built for Zoom. And things like that. They didn't really, I don't think they envisioned doing things as sophisticated as I'm doing with CueCam. So to show a picker, it's actually a bit like weirdly clunky. So I can't just like, I have to sort of show the picker and then untangle what happened later, instead of being able to take a direct path in code from just the prompt to the, you know, to sort of honoring that prompt with like Swift async or something. So you have to basically toggle this, you know, it's like picker is active after kind of configuring it. And then I'm sort of like here, like saving some information about what happened. But like, you know, it's going to introduce bugs when you're doing stuff in this asynchronous way. Also, you have to sort of, if you're already streaming something, then you sort of, you might want to add it to the existing stream, or you might want to make a new stream. And you can have as many different screen shares going. And this gets complicated in CueCam because I'm showing a preview of the screen share, like in the card editor. So it's not just when you're presenting or not just on the live camera. It's like if you're, you know, like I want to share this screen, I want to share this window. You're kind of moving through these decks. You might have multiple decks open, so there can be quite a lot of screen shares going on at the same time. So it can be a little bit awkward. And that's why I do provide the fallout. You know, I tried removing this, but like I just give you can either use the system picker, or it will you can just select from all screen shares, and that's just going to give you everything that's currently showing, and that's just in case the Apple stuff goes weird for some reason. But yeah, we do end up kind of like, this is sort of the callback for when I get something back from Apple. So there's a delegate handler, and basically I'm kind of sort of hacking it a little bit and saying, give me the included applications, and then I'm going to find the application name. And you'll see, like, basically these are underscore prefixed keys within these objects that I don't think Apple wants you to use, and that's why I've sort of like prefixed this with like hack, just to sort of make it clear that I'm doing something I probably shouldn't do. So in the future, if they change that, then at least it'll be pretty obvious that I was doing a hack. Maybe at the point at which they change that, they'll introduce a more official way of accessing that information, because I want the name, and you see the display name is kind of what we're after. I want to store the name. So I make sure, yeah, here's how that looks. So when somebody shares their screen through the live camera or a card, I want to show them which screen they shared and store that for later. And I do tend to favour strings as keys in CueCam, because these have a better chance of surviving when CueCam scripts are shared between different computers. I don't want to just give it like some UDID identifier for some device that's specific to that machine, because you might be sharing these documents. And I want, at least if, you know, you've got, you know, two people can have a built-in Retina display, or like a device with, you know, a screen with the same size. That seems a bit more likely than just, you know, some sort of hard-coded identifier, which I then have to like untangle somehow. But when we're looking at what we want the name of that display, and you just think you could get that, but it doesn't really give you a lot to go on. It gives you a display ID, which is this sort of like CG Direct display ID, which feels a bit like scary. Like, why am I in there? And then it just gives you the width and the height and the location. And those device IDs aren't kind of like long. It's like 1, 3, 7, right? Like, so I've got 3 displays, but the numbers aren't consecutive. So they're a bit too weird to put in the user interface, because they're going to be like, well, why have I got display 5 when I've only got 2 screens? That's weird. And they don't seem that unique either, so it's all a bit weird. So, I initially kind of, you can sort of go to ChatGPT, what am I supposed to do here? And of course it says, just use the localized name property, of course, and it sort of immediately starts hallucinating, invents localized name, which would be wonderful if it existed, but it doesn't. And then I say, oh, no, that doesn't work. What are you talking about? There's no localized name property. So instead it starts going to core graphics, and we're sort of into this CG display, get display info, which, sometimes for this kind of stuff, as you dig into this, it starts wanting you to do these like passing pointers in. You don't even get a return from a function. You're sort of saying, here's the count of results, and it gets quite messy. And then you sort of finally do figure that out, and you actually realize this thing is invented as well. So CG display product name doesn't exist, and I sort of show this is what actually does exist. It's got like bits per pixel, like IO display mode ID, like all this kind of mysterious stuff, but like nothing about the display name. It doesn't say like Retina display anywhere. So I ended up just giving up the first time round and just putting in the screen dimensions, as I've shown you before. And this has worked for me. This works for me because I've got 3 different displays of different sizes, and it's worked for most people for at least a year. But and here's how that looks. You'll get, it's just sharing screen 15, but it's not super user friendly, is it? Yesterday I had a conversation with a user, and I saw his screen sharing seemed a bit off, and I asked him if he had multiple monitors and whether they were the same size, and it turned out they were. So I was a little bit embarrassed. So it's just one of those little minor things that leads to confusion when you're using the app. If no one's going to have predicted that that's going to be a problem, but basically, so after that I created an issue on Discord, and started looking into this again, determined to succeed this time. Sorry for the background noises, but devlogs, this isn't supposed to be super slick. But yeah, so I ended up spotting something on Stack Overflow and talking about NS Screen. I thought, oh yeah, of course, right, we can look at NS Screen. That has a pretty decent number of things, and sure enough, down here we've got localized name. And that's what we want. That's giving me the display I want. But where do I get that CG Direct Display ID that I need, that I'm given from ScreenCaptureKit? That's kind of, I could compare the dimensions. Well, I could compare the visible frame. I could compare those, but it turns out like we get this device description thing, and that's where it is. But it's not straightforward to get that. So you kind of go, okay, what's my screen.device description? And you kind of hit the autocomplete and look at what's in there, and you get bits per sample, printer, screen, resolutions. Okay, I guess it's not in there. And you sort of like start wanting to give up. But then it turns out, you do a bit more Googling and you find out that while there are some auto-completed keys, actually like some stuff, in addition to the display device constants described in NS window, you can also retrieve the CG Direct Display ID by passing an Objective-C string as NS screen number. Like, why couldn't they make that an enum? Why did that have to be buried in the documentation? But it's there. So I kind of got to the bottom of it in the end. And so now that's how it works. So what we've got here is we go into the screen, we go device description, we go device, I'm casting that string into an NS device description key, and then just checking that's a CG Direct Display ID, and then comparing that to the SC display ID. And then that finally gives me what I'm after, right? And then the last step was, because people are already, they have preferences using the old system. So, I'll check the new style name, but I'll also check that legacy name as well, so that I don't break everyone's scripts. So you see we've got legacy name, which just does the screen width and height, which it can fall back to if you haven't like selected the screen name. But it's really cool that. So now we go built-in Retina display and we get what we want, finally. So thank you for watching. Subscribe for more devlogs like this. I'm talking about Swift and I'm talking about Elixir mostly. I'll do regular live streams about presenting with CueCam, and you'll see some other weirder stuff on here as well. So you can get CueCam at CueCam.app. Thank you for watching.